that going in at night was about the building, but no, it's about the place on the earth.
Unless it's really very gradual. If it's like really, we move our broiler houses like this.
One house lane.
And at first, only half.
Yeah.
So and they sure enough, they always go to the old place in the half, and they lay down. And then after a while, they do associate it with like the shape and things like that.
But it takes a while.
It does take a while.
These ones were brooded in that same house.
Yeah,
it was up here by the electric outlet, and so that's where they were since they were a day old. And we moved their house about 20 feet.
It was a nightmare.
Black sky, tornado warnings. We had keep hard hats because of all the branches. And we're out there moving 300 chicks.
Oh, no.
10 feet into their house.
How do you pick them up, or do you get a net?
Well, at dark, they're out. They're down. They don't move. They can't see.
We used the crates.
So we used our transport crates and loaded up. I mean, they were still tiny. They were a month, and layers aren't, you know, broilers are getting kind of chunky at a month, but layers aren't that big at a month. They were babies. So it wasn't good. It was not a good scene.
It took up about a circle about this big.
They were packed in there.
Packed, yeah, like a big rug.
I mean, so really, we were like picking them up 4 at a time, you know, just like literally 50 of them in a crate because they were still so small. We only put 10 in a crate or 8 in a crate for the broilers. But they were tiny. We could like load 40 in a crate and then move the crate and then unload them. It was, yeah. And we've done it many times for broilers, just misgauging how careful you have to be. So anyway, that may not fit your approach.
Jules, what do you think of concrete floors for a chicken coop?
If you are outside, if you are in a place where you might have rats, concrete floors are one ways to keep them safe.
Okay.
You really, I do know someone who did do deep litter on concrete. And then what he ended up doing was both ends of his big building, because he was brooding, I think about 1,000 at a time in different groups on concrete, tried deep litter, and then he would push the whole schmear out and then compost it. It seemed to work for him. My concern, more than anything else, is drainage. They can't be wet. So when I get a spill, it just goes right down through that, whatever I've got now, 8 inches or 6 inches of litter, but then it hits the dirt and keeps going, so they don't get soggy. So I just wouldn't want them to get soggy. That would be my, so maybe you have it poured at a slight little slant so that it's going to drain off.
Yeah, maybe you put your waterers at the low side.
What we did here.
Ours, the most likely peril is the broken water line.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Probably goes without saying that if we're something that they can scratch on, that the cement would have something on top of it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it would have to have, and you wouldn't be able to start with a little litter. You would want to start with a good 4 or 6 inches so they don't scratch down to that concrete very easily. People have really mixed feelings about that. When we were up in the brooder for 2 years, something got in there. And and it was right before we had a batch of chicks arriving, and I had to put my dogs in there because we had someone who needed to stay at our house, and I have a dog that takes her a while. You have to go through a process, and I didn't have time to go through the process, and so we put the dogs in the brooder. And the first night, something was in there, and I had gone in to start setting up, and I saw the disturbed earth in, and I thought, oh, this could be it. This could be when I lose chicks to a rat or something like that. And those dogs went crazy. The next night, early on, they barked once. The next night, it was done. That time after I cleaned out the brooder, I put in hardware cloth. And so I like bathtubed it. So that there's hardware cloth all under. Hopefully it would be enough to stop anything from coming in. You always have choices, right? Although someone had told me that a rat on a concrete floor had found some place that they could then work between the concrete and the wood, and it took them a while, but they eventually had rats in their brooder. No, this was a chicken house. This was a coop. So there's nothing that's 100%. So I don't want to take an over